I got a vasectomy due to climate grief. Now
Yeah,
I'm compelled
the
to let go
CBC,
of my
right?
backup plan.
We just talked about this on the Voice Cast.
What do you think?
I mean, the natural logical conclusion is if you were so worried about human impact on climate, you kill yourself, right? If you really care, right? Like, isn't that like, okay, well, you know, if you want to get a vasectomy, I can do you one further, right? It's crazy. I mean, these people are mental. Their brains have been so destroyed with this like anxiety and fear about the future. Like, you know, humanity is not the type of thing you want to bet against. Like, it kind of always finds a way, you know? Like, everybody's like, oh my God, we're doomed. Like, this doomerism, it's probably existed forever. There's never, and you know, and yet here we are. So I don't know. What do you think about it?
For about a year and a half, I'd been offering to get a vasectomy to do more than just talk about how the world didn't need any more humans. In and around our old Nova Scotia house, I'd periodically make that horizontal scissor mime to reiterate my offer. News of rising temperatures on the kitchen radio, finger snip. Atlantic Ocean looking more and more disturbed, finger snip. Even back then in 2007, the North Atlantic hurricane season was intensifying due to climate change. Snip, snip. Daryl, my then partner, called out from a few rows back in a crowded flight. We'd originally been seated together but relocated so a mum could sit with her kids. When I looked back over the packed seats amidst the roar of burning engines, she smiled at me and mimed a scissor cut with 2 fingers. Yes, she finally said, in a gesture understandable only to me. My then partner called out. This sounds like a guy who did and now is no longer with the person who...
Yeah, also an interesting thing here, because this is an ultimate in virtue signaling, obviously, to say, like, I'm saving the planet by not reproducing. And then they insisted on including... No, but they insisted on... It's interesting. They insist on including, which is unnecessary, that they were not... They were sitting separately because they had to give up their seats so a mother could sit with their child. Like, that's like a weird thing. You're like, okay, you didn't have to say that, other than you just have to be... The best human possible, and everybody else who's reading this is just scum.
That's part of why it was so thrilling when my now wife, Giselle, voluntarily mentioned not wanting kids on our first date. 3 years later, we got married and moved in a kind of working honeymoon to sweaty equatorial Singapore. Admittedly, our next 4 years of travel around Asia made us more a part of the climate crisis problem than the solution. Basically, I decided to carbon offset my destructive, selfish lifestyle by not propagating my own DNA and instead traveled the world.
This is like a borderline Onion article.
Yeah.
From not that long ago. And but this is the CBC. This is Canadian Broadcasting. This is government-funded propaganda right here.
Did you see, I came up with this idea of toxic compassion. Do you read my little...
No, I haven't seen that.
All right. So toxic compassion is the prioritization of short-term emotional comfort over everything else, over truth, reality, actual long-term outcomes, flourishing, everything. It optimizes for looking good rather than doing good. People would rather claim that body fat has no bearing on health and mortality outcomes to avoid making overweight individuals feel upset, even if this causes them to literally die sooner or have a worse quality of life. People would rather say that children growing up in single-parent households suffer no worse outcomes than those from two-parent homes, even if this misleads parents, children, and teachers about why kids behave the way they do. Campaigners would sooner shout defund the police as a response to what they perceive as unfair treatment of criminals, even if this results in more crimes being committed against people from those minority backgrounds due to the abandonment of police officers from those areas. So it's people that say what they think sounds good, but ultimately might net a negative outcome. And Peterson said it's the prioritization of short-term emotional comfort over long-term thriving. It's going to hurt now, but the consequences long-term are positive.
Yeah, you just don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
But you disregard what the actual long-term outcome is. The same as with this bloke.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I'm actually just listening right now to Jonathan Haidt, the coddling of the American mind, and they talk about, like, he's talking about like all the safetyism stuff, where essentially it has these actual like negative outcomes, you know, because some kid got like abducted in like the 70s, and then they like essentially were clamping down so hard on kids that it actually made them worse off, you know, because you don't let them go outside, and because, like, you know, obviously it's tragic that a kid got abducted or whatever. There was actually, he talked about it, I can't even believe this, I had to look it up yesterday. In 2015 in Missouri, this family, in order to teach their 6-year-old a lesson about not going with strangers, abducted him and like renditioned him and from like a mall, and they put like a bag on his head, and then they
It's like a mock execution.
like basically like the craziest lesson you could ever imagine. And then
this trauma is going to teach you not to let it happen again.
Yeah, don't go home with strangers or whatever. And like, I don't even think he did. Like, I don't think there was an incident. They just abducted him to kind of teach him this lesson, kind of get ahead of it preemptively.
Yeah, well, that's the fucking horseshoe of like helicopter parenting, that it comes back around to just super extreme mistreatment of your kid.
Yeah. In the guise of, I'm helping them. You're like, this kid is going to have this trauma forever.
The one on the other side that's like, oh yeah, my kid will be fine. It's like, it's the same idea. My kid will be fine. My kid will be fine with me mock fucking abducting him from this thing.
But there's no shortage of those kids who were like, yeah, my parents worked and, I had a lot of autonomy and I was fine.
I seem to be okay.
I was fine. Maybe I got a little bit of trouble, but...
You see the stuff about peanut allergies, the increase in peanut
allergies? That was another one in the Jonathan Knight thing, was because it tripled the amount of peanut allergies because they removed peanuts.
Yeah, so if you grow up in a household that has a washing machine, like a dishwasher, that doubles your chances of asthma. And if you grow up in a house that has a dog, it halves your chances of asthma because you just get exposed to dirt.
Right.
So basically you double and then you double again the chances of it.
Why the dishwasher?
Dishwasher presumably just cleans
it's just the environment.
In such a sterile way that you don't get the tiny little doses of germs. And the same for dogs. Dogs coming in and out, bringing dirt in, like playing in the grass, etc. So there's just ways where you can sterilize the environment so much that instead of it making kids and people safer, what it does is create such a protected environment that there is nowhere that they never deal with any kind of discomfort. And this is culturally, ideologically, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, the exact same thing we see with toxic compassion.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop on hand sanitizer being bad for you.
You think?
There's so many things. Me and Ryan were just talking about it, how all the stuff that used to be bad for you is now good for you. Like, remember, I don't know, but like my mom was very much, even still, she doesn't come around to, she's like, you got to eat breakfast. You have to eat breakfast. It's like, you'll die. If you don't eat breakfast now, everybody's like, don't eat breakfast. Or it's like, you got to eat. Now everybody's like fasting. Like, it's all the stuff. It's literally bro science has beat down mom science. Mm-hmm. And mom science is just kind of reeling. But it just... I don't know. I won't be surprised if it'll be something similar with the hand sanitizer where they go, people are hand sanitizing too much and it's causing a rise in whatever.
Downstream from that, yeah. Well, we've been doing these meet and greets after the show, which is really great. But you do realize that, like, if anybody of these 600 people that I've just shook hands and taken a photo and like hugged or like slapped five with, if any of them, it's like I got it all. We did get COVID. All of us got COVID separately. James in Australia, Luke in the UK, me in Austin. We all got COVID about 2 months before the show, the tour began, and we were like, tour antibodies, like, fuck yeah, like, we've done it, I'm going to be immune. Yeah. Immediately went on tour and just got wrecked by like other different viruses.
I mean, that's kind of the nature of how it goes, but yeah, I don't know. It's unavoidable. Like, I was just on the train over here. One thing I still find so difficult to understand is couples where one's masked and one's not. Because surely the one that's unmasked will then give you whatever you're trying to avoid, right? Like, am I missing something? But I see it all the time. You're like a couple where one's masked. But like, how...
You're going to get in the same bed tonight.
Yeah, like you're going to kiss later. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's someone who's way smarter than me who can explain that to me. Because I see it all the time. Like, I saw it literally just on the train right over here.
In other news, this episode is brought to you by Element. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything that you need and nothing that you don't. It's a healthy alternative to sugary electrolyte drinks, and it is the best way that I have started my morning every single day for over 3 years now. It contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium with no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, or any other junk. Your adenosine system that caffeine acts on isn't active for the first 90 minutes of the day, but your adrenal system is, and salt acts on your adrenal system. So if you want to be more awake, want to regulate your appetite, curb cravings, and have better brain health, this is the way to start your day. Head to drinklmnt.com/modernwisdom to get a free sample pack of all 8 flavors with your first box. Plus, there is a no BS, no questions asked refund policy, so you can buy it 100% risk-free. That's drinklmnt.com/modernwisdom. Modern wisdom. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full podcast episode. Go on. Press it.